Peace and love, family, and welcome back for another Sunday Hope and Healing session where we utilize every tool that we have at our disposal to be able to support you and encourage you, offer some insights, as well as actual healing to help optimize any and every really area of your life. And we do that through a methodology referred to as transcending the matrix, which is a holistic based approach that tends to a person's total beingness, spirit, mind, body, every aspect of a person's beingness, and actually even manifests as medical miracles, repairing broken bones, eliminating chronic pain, reversing diseases, and all sorts of wonderful things. Now, today's focus is actually we're focusing on the nervous system and actually dealing with the mental and emotional aspects of life and existence and how we experience those things. So, whether you're feeling stressed, feeling anxious, feeling overwhelmed, um, feeling overstimulated, and all those things, what we're here to address is just that today. We're dealing with that, and how we're going to focus on dealing with that is by upgrading the nervous system. So I'm going to endeavor to not necessarily do so much talking today and focus a little bit more on the healing so that we can actually bring into your actual lived experience um, upgrade to your hardware, so to speak, as well as to your software. And so, just to give you a little bit of background in terms of how the body works, from a psychological standpoint and neurological standpoint. I'm not going to go really too deep into anything, but what I will say is that essentially our nervous system really, in a lot of ways, governs the totality of our bodies. Our brain is part of our nervous system. It's a key part of our nervous system, and it gives signals to all of the rest of the body, telling it what to do. Okay. And so when we're feeling anxious, when we're feeling overwhelmed, what's happening is that there's a lot of energy running over our circuitry. So in addition to the brain, there's also the nerves in your body. So when a person says you get on my nerves, in other words, they're put in a state of mental emotional irritation where they're maybe feeling a little bit on edge. Something's troubling them, something's bothering them. When a person's feeling heart palpitations and things of that nature, what it is that's happening is that their nervous system is overloaded, that their nervous system in that moment is overloaded. And so the way that we want to help address that for you is by upgrading your nervous system. And so, just to give you a little bit of background, there have been multiple occasions where people have reached out to me where they were really not in a great space, right? Um, I think about this one particular occasion. The guy just felt like he was losing it. He had so much going on inside of him, and really, even the word emotions are literally energy and motion. When a person is feeling particularly emotional, there's energy that's in their body moving through their nervous system, maybe blocked somewhere in their nervous system, and it needs to have a way of being released, if you will, if the person's nervous system isn't really capable of handling what it is that's going over it, or a person could end up short circuiting, if you will, or having a nervous breakdown. And so, if you think about like the wiring in your home, you probably either have a you probably either have a circuit breakers in your house, or you have a fuse box in your house that has fuses, and those fuses and those circuits are really dealing with the different areas in your home, right? So you may have your washer and dryer may be on their own circuit, right? Because the amount of electricity they require is higher than what's required, like say to run your television. So what you'd have in your living room or your family room or your bedrooms, right? And so different places in your house are gauged with different levels of wiring because when you're running X amount of energy over the wires in your home, if there's too much energy that's going across those wires, then what those wires are developed to handle, what will happen is either your circuit will switch off. If you have a circuit box, that circuit will switch off and you'll have to flick it back on. Or if you have fuses, that fuse will blow. Now, the reason that happens is because if you did not have that in place, if there's more energy running across the circuitry or running across your wiring than what those wirings are prepared to handle or are gauged to handle, what will happen is there'll be an electrical fire that would start in your home or your place of business, wherever the case is. It's very, very similar in terms of our bodies. And so our bodies are the wiring and excuse me, our nervous system, our nerves are the wiring in our body, like the wires in your home. And they're gauged to be able to handle X amount of energy. And if there's more energy that's that's going across your nervous system than what your internal wiring is capable of handling, it'll throw you completely out of sorts and can possibly even lead you to having a nervous breakdown and other things that just exceed, or the other things that demonstrate that you have exceeded what the gauging on your internal wiring or what your nervous system was gauged to be able to properly handle and effectively handle. Okay. And so if you're feeling stressed, you're feeling anxious, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling out of sorts in whatever kind of way, it's speaking to the fact that there's more energy that's endeavoring to go across your nervous system, dwelling in your body, than what you can currently physically handle based on what your wiring actually is. Okay. And so I was starting to say, there was a guy who was really out of it. He was in not a good way, right? And I worked with him. We upgraded his nervous system, and he was completely calm and fine. All right. He was completely calm and fine after that. There's another lady, similar situation. She was actually in the process of getting her affairs in order because, she felt that she was dying. She was trying to get her affairs in order to prepare for her death. Again, with her, we just upgraded in a treatment session. We just upgraded her nervous system. And then after that, she was fine, and she's still fine. And that was many, 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 many years ago. Right. Same with that particular gentleman that I was referring to just a moment ago. All right. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to, if you will, energetically upgrade the nervous system of the people who choose to align with this. And by the way, greetings and many blessings to anybody and everybody who's out there viewing today. We certainly are thankful for this opportunity to be able to offer this service, to be able to really, quite frankly, help all of us. Because people who are stressed all the way out, guess what they do? They create more stress for other people as well. The people who give you a hard time, at the grocery store or that you're dealing with in business or in your family, chances are they've got some stuff going on in their nervous system that is more than what they are gauged to be able to handle, and maybe they don't have the tools to be able to handle. That's why I do this every week. I mean, I'm out of town right now. I'm not at home. I've got all of my brothers are right behind me. I'm outside at one brother's place, and my other two brothers are in town and have a sister who's coming in town with her family of 6 today. I would certainly enjoy to be hanging out with them, but I do this and I'm committed to doing this because I know what a difference this makes I know what a difference this makes. And I want us all to be blessed. I want us all to be thriving. I want us all to be at peace, because the reality is that broken people do stuff and behave in ways that results in the brokenness of other people. Similarly, whole people, healed people are people who are able to contribute to the healing of other people and to the well-being and the good of us all, right? And so with that said, uh, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started with the healing. If you have a particular thing that's going on with you from a mental or emotional standpoint, feel free to drop that in the comments, and we'll do what we can to address that even specifically for you. Otherwise, we're going to just do a general healing in terms of upgrading the nervous system of everybody who's involved and chooses to participate in this stream. So I'm going to start with a prayer, and then I'll get to work making the corrections and adjustments. Most gracious and most divine God, thank you so much that you are a healer, that you are bigger than every problem, and that you have a solution to every issue, that you are capable of healing any and everything that could trouble us. And I give great thanks for the blessing and the privilege of being able to demonstrate you as a healer. On behalf of myself, Royce, Fletcher, Thomason, whoever else is here, I ask that you would say your name right now. Any and every one of us who's tuned in to this broadcast or even the playback, for the point of neutralizing from the causal root all excess stress, anxiety, tension, inability to relax, feelings of overwhelm or feeling overloaded, uh, any mental or emotional overload manifesting in whatever way it may be showing up, neutralizing that from the point of the causal root and the entire energetic structure of every strand of DNA and every cell of each and every person's body who's tapped into this healing, and transmuting that into and upgrading it with a completely optimized nervous system that's able to effectively handle uh, higher amounts of energy flowing through their body and through their nervous system, whether that's through external factors or growing spiritually, becoming greater versions of themselves spiritually, and being able to actually handle effectively and efficiently handle higher frequencies of light and love and wisdom. And I bear witness to our wholeness on this date and in this time and space called now. Thank you, God. Thank you for this gift of your divine love. It is done. It is done. It is done. All right, so let's get to work here in terms of the actual healing. And so I want to start off with dealing with any energetic blockages within, stored somewhere within the nervous system, particularly the central nervous system in this case, and want to um, address trauma related to that. Physical trauma that's taking place to the nerves themselves, as well as the nerve endings, as well as mental emotional trauma that's taken place that a person hasn't really known how to process, and to be able to allow that energy to move through one's body and out of one's body, to be transmuted into higher frequencies of peace and joy and harmony and bliss and love. All right. All right. And the ability to alchemize low vibrational frequencies. So that's really just taking something, in a nutshell, taking something bad and making something good out of it. All right. Okay, so let's deal for a moment with the um, with the spinal cord itself. Greetings, Curly Conscious King. Let's deal with the spinal cord itself. Alrighty, and look at the spinal column, strengthening the spinal column, increasing the flexibility and the disc space within the vertebrae of the spinal column to create a greater sense of protection for the central nervous system, to open up space for your central nervous system to be able to relax because it knows that it's protected, that it's securely protected, and is able to rest and relax in a sense of security, profound security. All right. Now, the nerves within the spinal cord are inside of what's called the meninges. Okay, so the meninges are also kind of protect the nerves of the spinal cord. And so you've heard of people perhaps having meningitis. What it is that there's inflammation in a person's meninges. Okay, so let's look at the meninges. There are three: the pia mater, the dura mater, and the mandibular. All right, so we want to clear out any toxicity, any toxins that may exist within the pia mater, the dura mater, and the mandibular, as well as tone down any inflammation that may be there, any unresolved anger issues. It's coming up as an issue. The unresolved anger issues, let's transmute the unresolved anger into righteous resolution. All right, righteous resolution. Eugene Masons, greetings to you, my brother. Good to have you in the space today. All righty, and so let's look at Dr. Kafera. Good to see you in the space today as well. Many blessings to you. I understand feeling, variety of emotions, emptying the storage unit that contains your late husband's belongings and feeling overwhelmed and angry in the context of that. All right, so let's look at and Dr. Kafera, you may really want to look into the Transcending the Matrix training. I feel like it will provide some good tools for you. Okay, so let's look at balancing out any excess in the element of fire. So inflammation deals with fire. Like the nature, when you think about the nature of fire, the nature of fire is to consume. And some of us are being consumed with things that are outside of our control. All right, so we want to tone down the element of fire as it relates to us being consumed with things that extend beyond our control. All right, we want to delete that, or reduce that by 39%. All right. And let's also look at optimizing the element of water. Remember earlier I said that emotions are energy and motion. You know, that sense of fluidity deals with the element of water. Fluid, liquid, water. It's speaking to the same thing. So the nature of water is such that when it's still, when it's standing water, it becomes toxic. There are all kinds of microorganisms that grow in it that are not good for your system when it's just standing water, when it's not in movement, when it's not fluid and in motion. In a similar way, emotions, energy and motion, when they're not processed, when they're stagnant, when they're stuffed down, when they're not properly dealt with, they too become toxic. They become toxic to your system. So we want to actually optimize the element of water, increased levels of fluidity in terms of your nervous system, and to be able to calm down also speaking to that issue of the inflammation. Um, so we want to optimize the element of water, increasing it by 78%. Greetings, Mel K. Good to have you in the space today. All right. Okay, so let's look at now I told you earlier the nerves in the central nervous system in the spinal cord are protected by the spinal column, right? Which is the series of cervical, thoracic, lumbar vertebrae, as well as your coccyx. Those vertebrae protect the spinal cord. Inside of that is the meninges, the pia mater, the dura mater, and the mandibular. Okay, yet still inside of that, there's a fluid that kind of helps to further protect your nerves, the nerves in your nervous system, particularly your central nervous system. And that fluid is called cerebral spinal fluid. It actually is in your brain as well as in, protecting your spinal cord, okay, to protect it from trauma. All right, so let's look at any toxicity within the cerebral spinal fluid. All right, so there is some toxicity that we're going to want to clean out from the cerebral spinal fluid. All right. We're going to clear out that toxicity. Transmute it into photons of light and love and joy. And clean, healthy, pristine cerebral spinal fluid. Okay. All right. And so now let's get into actually elevating the grade of the wiring in your central nervous system. All right. So let's increase it by 2,000%. Upgrade the nerves in your nervous system by 2,000%, increasing the gauging nerves by 2,000%. Okay. All right. That'll make it much easier for you to go through life, in a state of peace and well-being. All right. All right. Yes. All right. So I want to deal with a thought or concern that somebody might have that this increased gauging would have to increase the physical size of the nerves in the nervous system, which would perhaps create less space. This is in terms of your thinking, less space within the meninges, less space for cerebral spinal fluid, and perhaps create a sense of crowding. So we want to neutralize that thought, transmute that with the awareness that the nervous system can be upgraded via upgrade just in the overall technology, so that that your physical technology is actually able to operate more efficiently without having to increase necessarily the size of your nervous system to increase the gauging of your nervous system. So that just spiritual nanotechnology, we'll call it, right? so that you're able to actually remember the days, the old cell phones. You had to hold them like this because they were shaped. You had to hold them like this because they were like this, kind of how they were shaped, and they were kind of deep. They weren't necessarily that wide, but they were real deep, and they were real large, right? Or you remember the original like VHS, the old VHS video cameras that you had to have the big, humongous light on top of it, and still stuff would show up kind of red in the picture. Any of you all remember that? Because the technology just wasn't that advanced. My sister, whose house I'm at right now, she was showing me a video that she had recorded on her phone. She was visiting in California when they were visiting in California recently, and it looked like movie theater quality. This is something that she just did on her phone, right? Because the technology is elevated for that to be able to happen, right? And so, in a similar way, we're just upgrading our technology, our internal technology, to be able to do more without actually having to take up more physical space, right? So, when I was in seminary, by the way, I had a laptop. It was part of what we got, with our tuition, we got a laptop. And that laptop had 80 megabytes of storage. Yeah, you heard me correct. 80 megabytes of storage. So the laptop that I'm on right now has 16 gigabytes of random access memory. Totally, totally different deal, right? You got a computer with a terabyte on an SSD drive, a solid state drive. It's just able to operate much, 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 much more efficiently and without having to take up more physical space. That's how it is with this man-made technology. But what we're doing right now is we're giving us greater access to God-made technology, right? The reality is that this is available to all of us and all who choose to avail themselves of it. So I keep saying it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. The better off any of us is in terms of being more whole, the better it is for all of us. And that's why I want to spread this work as much as possible, because the more healed, the more of us are, the more healed all of us are. The more healed all of us are, the more we have peace and love reigning supreme on planet Earth. The more we have joy and fulfillment radiating on planet Earth, the more we have a sense of unity and community on planet Earth, the less we have of the chaos, the confusion, the anger, the bitterness, the hatred, all of the isms of life, and the more that we have of all of us living in peace as one, cherishing who it is that we are and cherishing who it is that our fellow brothers and sisters in creation are as well. So that's what I'm about. And that's why, again, I'm doing this. And so let's look at I want to look specifically right now at the brain stem, okay, and relieving any trauma that may have happened physically to the brain stem, as well as any trauma energetically to the brain stem, transmuting that into and replacing it with the renewed wholeness. With renewed wholeness. So the brain stem is kind of like at the base of your brain, if you will, and it's like an older part of the brain, if that makes sense. And so a lot of the more base areas of our existence, are kind of connected to the brain stem in some ways. All right. So what happens is a lot of times we have, as beings who are in some ways have a superior level of intelligence, we're able to develop certain technology in terms of electronics and computers and missiles and different things of that sort. But we need to also similarly have the upgrade to our nervous system, the upgrade to our spiritual selves, because a lot of damage has been done in the world by people who were in positions of authority and positions of power who did not have, um, who were not mentally and emotionally stable, who had complexes, whether inferiority or superiority complexes, who were, traumatized, and they were just in a position of power and played out their trauma by, creating issues for other people on a large scale basis. And so I saw something that was talking about how such a large percentage of global leaders, CEOs of company, people in positions of tremendous power in the earth realm, were actually sociopaths, right? Like Hannibal Lecter kind of deal. They may not do that literally in that context, but were sociopaths, cared about nothing but themselves, really. But they were mentally and emotionally damaged, though possibly very intelligent, but damaged. Their hardware as well as their software was damaged. We want to repair that damage so that we can live in a world that is filled with love and peace, right? Where we can get along with one another, where we can cohabitate on the planet and be good to the planet and the other life forms that are existing on it. All right. And so let's look at addressing all of this, I'm going to say sense of lack, this scarcity mindset, right? In terms of scarcity, in terms of what we believe there is in terms of power. Scarcity is that we believe there is in terms of resources. Scarcity mindset overall, and transmute that into an abundance mindset in the context that there is enough for all of us. There's enough joy for all of us. There's enough love for all of us. There's enough, I'm going to say enough power for all of us, because I recognize that we are kind of skewed in terms of how we think of power. We think of power from a fear-based perspective a lot of times. We think of power as something that we have over other people. But in reality, power is something that you have over your own lower nature, right? You don't have power just because you can order X number of people dead. You have resources and influence, but you don't have power necessarily. You have power when you can be the best version of yourself. You have power when you are able to overcome whatever your insecurities are, including the ability to even recognize that you've got some insecurities in the first place, right? You've got power when you're able to love from a genuine, authentic, pure space, while at the same time establishing healthy boundaries. You've got power when you're able to stand in the midst of chaos and confusion all around you and still be able to dwell in a state of peace and harmonium. You've got power when people are sending negative energy in your direction, but you're not taking it personally, right? You've got power when you can see a person operating out of their pain body, operating out of a state of fear of themselves, but you're able to remain a sense of composure and a sense of peace within yourself, where you are able to exude so much peace that it then is able to impact them and influence them in such a way where they're able to calm down and feel peaceful. Those are things that demonstrate power. So let's optimize our understanding of power, and let's optimize our ability to allow power to run through us in a way that is truly constructive, that is truly constructive for our well-being and serves our highest and best good and the highest and best good of everybody involved. Yes, Lord. Thank you, God, for that. All right. Oh, my brother from Tuskegee, good to see you in the space today, by the way. All righty. Okay, so let's get into this right now as far as being able to tap into more profound levels of joy unapologetically. Being able to tap into more profound joy because we don't have excuses for why we can't feel and experience that joy. What do I mean by excuses about why we can't feel and experience that joy? Excuse me if you hear my nephew and niece making noise in the background. They're just inside here, and there's glass separating us, but you may be able to hear them possibly. At any rate, okay, so let's look at the things that we would use as excuses to detach from joy. All right. Like the need to be right. Ooh, Lord have mercy. Apologies if anybody's toes are feeling stepped on. But we're going to offer some help in the event that they are. So let's look at attachment to excuses, attachment to the need to be right. All right. And transmute that into allowing space, allowing genuine space to be able to experience something new and improved from an emotionally, mentally, spiritually perspective of wholeness. All right. Yes. So dealing with that, let's override the fear of the unknown and transmute that fear of the unknown into the celebration of the new and improved. All right. Fear of the unknown is also attached to the need to be in control. Those of us who are feeling the need to be in control are in what I referred to earlier as in a scarcity mindset. What is it to be able to know, to just know that all things are working together for your good and that you don't have to control things unfolding in a particular way. You don't have to control particular people, but can truly operate in a state of faith and assurance that your future is secure, that your well-being is guaranteed. All right. So now let's look at belief systems relating to fearing God. All right. Like people talk about God fearing like that's a good thing because there's a place in the Bible, for instance, in the book of Proverbs that talks about the way that it says in the King James Version that was translated in 1611. The way it's translated is the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. A more accurate understanding in terms of, or more accurate translation in terms of our understanding today would be awe. To be able to stand in awe of God is the beginning of wisdom. Not afraid in terms of fearful in terms of being afraid, but just in the terms of awe and wonder, right? To be able to stand in awe of the majesty when you think about the fact that, you are one amongst 8 billion people living on planet Earth, which is just one of several planets revolving around one very mediocre star that we call the sun, right? And just in this galaxy, there's some 2 to 400 billion other stars, the closest of which would take 4 years to get to, traveling at a speed of 186,000 miles per second, right? And then there are billions upon billions of galaxies outside of this galaxy called the Milky Way. When you think about that and the great expanse of the totality of the universe that your brain isn't even going to begin to process, just how expansive that is. And that there is a divine being and a divine intelligence that is keeping all of that in balance. There is no way for you to even process that fully, right? But when you really consider that, it's difficult not to have a sense of awe. Goodness gracious. It's difficult not to have a sense of awe and marvel at that. When you consider that in the light of whatever problems you might be going through or growing through in your life, it makes it much easier to put into perspective that this little situation that I've got going on now, I know that the situation might not seem so little, but when you look at it in a bigger context and you look at what it is that God is able to do, you're able to relax and be at peace, knowing that an all loving, all powerful, all knowing God has got you covered and knows what's good for you better than you do and wants what's good for you better than you do. Oh boy, I feel my help coming on. Listen, I'm trying to stay contained in this seat. I'm feeling my help coming on. All right, so let's look at uh, replacing a sense of our own arrogance, because thinking that we can control anything and that we know enough to think that our control of a thing is going to be what best supports us. There's got to be a sense of arrogance that comes with that. So let's replace that sense of spiritual arrogance with a divine humility, that carries with it a divine confidence, not just confidence in your ability to control things or your ability to use whatever things you have at your disposal to make things work out the way that you think you want them to work out, but a confidence in knowing that you are a child of the Most High and you are deeply and profoundly loved in ways that exceed your ability to even begin to comprehend. And that because you are that you're covered, that you're protected, that you're provided for, that things are being arranged in the invisible realms of which you don't even consciously know about. And it's all working together for your good, that there is a desire to bless you more than you even desire to be blessed yourself. And there's a confidence that comes with that. And in that confidence and in that humility, there's an assurance, there's a peace, there's a sense of being able to relax, relate, release, as Whitley Gilbert said, right? Right? Yes, I'm glad you're receiving this word, Eugene Mason. We're covered, we're protected, we're taken care of. All right. Now, I'm going to do a couple more corrections and then we're going to get ready to close out for today. And I'm going to go in here and be with my family. All right, but let's get to it. Let's address a couple more of these things. All right. Now, in terms of that nervous system upgrade, let's take this nervous system upgrade and make it retroactive. Make it retroactive to previous points in our life, going all the way back to our early childhood, to the time that we were born, to the time that we were fetuses developing in our mother's womb, going back retroactively into our parents and grandparents and the generations that came before us. Going back 29 generations is what's coming up right now. All right, upgrading their nervous systems. You see, there's somebody told me years and years ago, this is in the early 2000s, I guess. Somebody said that I was going to do a lot in terms of the healing, not only of the current generations, but generations past. And I can say now, I definitely know that to be true. But we're going to go generations past, bringing healing to those generations that came before us, that didn't have the tools that we have, that didn't have the opportunities that we have, that didn't have the wherewithal that we have in this moment, right? So we're being able to bring healing to our ancestors before us. I hear Sinke saying, in this moment, I am the only reason that my ancestors ever existed, right? And so what is happening in you right now, what's happening in your nervous system right now is a blessing to your ancestors who came before you. And we're going to not only make it retroactive, we're also going to extend it in the future for the generations that have come after you, your children and your children's children and your children's 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 children, going in the future or subsequent generations. 19 generations. Okay. All right. So there's a very profound healing that's taking place right now. It has a whole lot more to do than just the words that you hear coming out of my mouth right now. There's some profound healing that's taking place, that's blessing you, that's blessing your ancestors, and that's blessing the generations that come after you. All right. All right. So let's optimize and streamline the efficiency of love and light to flow and radiate through your beingness, through your nervous system, and to be able to manifest when coming through your heart and the energy that you give from your heart that comes through the words that you speak, and that also radiates from your eyes. All right. So that when you look at people, they're able to feel a sense of peace. They're able to feel a sense of grace. They're able to feel the wisdom. They're able to feel the love. All right. You're able to feel the confidence. All right. All right. I'm feeling good about this healing that's been taking place today. Yes. All right. All right. We're going to do two more things and then we're going to close it out for today. All right. So the first of those two things that we're going to do as we prepare to close out is we're going to wash out all of the areas where we've held on to any bitterness, resentment, animosity, and transmute that into enough self-love, loving ourselves enough to forgive the past and to forgive those who hurt us, those who hurt those that we care about. And also for us to forgive ourselves. Cat Sea Change, aloha. Good to see you in this space. You've been on my heart. All right. So the next thing and this is going to be the last correction that we're going to do, and then we're going to go ahead and close it out. All right. And that's also dealing with a level of self-love too. And that's loving ourselves enough to invest in our spiritual well-being. Loving ourselves enough to invest in our spiritual well-being, whether that is in terms of your energy, your focus, your attention, your finances, you know, for that to be a priority in your life, your spiritual well-being to be a priority in your life, such that you're able to really truly dwell in a divine flow. Where you're able to truly dwell in a divine flow that supports your highest and best good and the highest and best good of anyone and everyone with whom you interact with. Michelle, greetings to you. Good to see you in this space today. Your name had just come up recently. All righty. As a matter of fact, came up, today's the 28th, came up on the 25th, maybe the 26th. All right, so let's see. That's looking much better. So I invite you all to just join with me in a prayer as we get ready to close this out. God, thank you so much for the healing that's taken place today. Thank you for upgrading our nervous systems, increasing the gauge of our nervous systems, clearing out toxicity held within our cerebral spinal fluid, increasing the health and well-being of our meninges and of our spinal cord, increasing the stability of our spinal cord, of our spinal column, and increasing the disc space and offering greater flexibility, for the opening of new neural pathways in our brain, for us to be able to travel to new and exciting places within our beingness, to be able to operate from a more healthy, more whole perspective, to be able to navigate life more fully, and to be able to see beyond the matrix of illusion, if you will, Father God. Thank you, Mother God. Thank you, everything, God, for the divine awareness that we are completely protected, loved, cherished, that there is nothing that can do to make us unworthy of love, just like there's nothing we could do to make us worthy of love, but that we are loved because we are. And because we are loved, we choose to also allow ourselves to be loved, and we choose to love ourselves enough to pour into our own spiritual growth, development, and unfoldment, so that we can experience the highest and best good in our lives, and that all of those with whom we interact might be able to flow in the highest and best good in their lives. For these and so many countless blessings, we give great thanks and say Ashe and Amen. I love you, family, and I'm sending that love out to you, wishing you a wonderful balance of your July 28th. Shout out to my mother, Ronnie, and my stepfather, Chuck, on their anniversary today. And just sending out a tremendous amount of love to you all. It's such a privilege and such a pleasure to be able to share with you. I know that there are a lot of places that you could be other than on this live stream. I know that of the people are here. We've had people in California, people in Michigan, people in Alabama, people in Hawaii, and Texas, and other parts of the country and other parts of the world. And I'm thankful that you love yourself enough to have shown up here. And if you want to share this blessing with somebody else, please pass this video on to them. If you're on YouTube, just click the share and text it to them. You know, feel free to do that on YouTube as well. Because I really do believe in this. I really do value it. And I really do want to see as many of us as healed and as whole as possible, because I know that it supports all of us. It supports all of us. The more whole, the more of us are, the more whole the more of us become, right? All right. Dr. Kafera says this is the best place for her today. I heard that. I heard that. Been dealing with today, uh, really dealing with upgrading the nervous system to keep from feeling stressed, anxious, and overwhelmed. I feel very, very thankful and uh, confident in what has happened today towards that end. And for anybody who's interested in learning this methodology that's transcending the matrix, it's a joy for me to be able to do this. It's a joy for me to be able to do it in private consultations. It's a joy even more so for me to be able to teach other people to do what it is that I do. There have been several people who've been tuned in today who are transcending the matrix initiates and have felt the wonderful benefits of that in their life. And it's something that you're also interested in. Then feel free to reach out to me. You can do that on Facebook or on Instagram. Reach out to me at Royce Fletcher Thomason. Also, if you're not already subscribed to the Matrix Healing YouTube page, that's Matrix Healing, one word, just one word, Matrix Healing YouTube page, then click to subscribe to the page and also to hit the notification bell so that you can be notified when we're sharing content. A lot of the content that we're sharing is to provide actual healing, and the fact that I'm where I am physically and you're wherever you might be physically, that's immaterial. The healing, it doesn't matter where on the planet you are, the healing can reach you, right? The man-made technology that allows me to sit on my brother's lanai and wirelessly reach you wherever it is that you are on the planet, on your phone or on your computer in real time, that pales significantly in comparison to the divine technology that allows the healing to reach you and to create physical changes in your beingness. So anyway, with that said, I bid you adieu with peace and love as we endeavor to enter into this sustainable state of supreme satisfaction. Look forward to catching you next time.